And we're going to start off with this. It makes me feel dirty to even say this, but the big event in the world of sports this weekend was not Bills versus Chiefs. No, it was a complete non-boxer named Jake Paul boxing a near 60-year-old man in Mike Tyson. Now, look, before we talk about the fight specifically, I will never understand why anybody ever pays any attention to Jake Paul fights. He's not, guys, listen to me. Those of you listening, watching home, listen to me. He's not a real boxer. He's not a real boxer because real boxers fight other real boxers. Jake Paul has had one fight against a real boxer, Tommy Fury, also known as Tyson Fury's little brother. And he lost that fight. Jake lost to the only guy that even looks like a real boxer. But before you think to yourself, well, Tommy Fury must be a really good boxer. No shame in losing to that. Guys, I'm going to read you the records of the guys Tommy Fury has fought. His latest fight was against a guy with one professional fight. Tommy Fury beat this guy who was 1-0. Okay.
Undefeated.
An undefeated guy. Amongst the other guys he fought was a guy who was 0-1. And these are all his wins. He won against a guy who was 0-1, who was 2-0, who was 0-9, 0-11, 2-26, 0-26, and 10-102. These are the guys that Tommy Fury has beat.
Yeah.
And Tommy Fury is the guy that Jake Paul lost to.
Yeah.
Jake Paul is not a real boxer. He's not a real fighter. And when he did fight somebody who even looks like a real fighter, that guy would be ranked like number 785. Not that they even rank that low. That's how much of a non-issue Jake Paul actually is. And as far as Mike Tyson goes, I mean, listen, he looks phenomenal, Mike Tyson. And clear, he's in incredible shape for a guy who is approaching 60 years old.
Yeah.
But Mike Tyson hasn't been the same. We were just talking about this before we started the show. It's not like he hasn't been the same since he retired, or he hasn't been the same since that Roy Jones Jr. exhibition match. He has not looked the same since he lost to Buster Douglas. Like, he was never the same after that. The Iron Mike mystique was gone after that. And now he's still in incredible shape, fabulous. And the fact that he could even get into a ring and fight a guy at almost 60 years old and being in the shape he is was phenomenal. But guys, we were talking about a guy who's not a boxer fighting a guy who was a boxer that's approaching 60 years old.
Yeah.
And this thing, guys, drew nearly 60 million live household views on Netflix.
Yeah.
More people tuned into this than followed election coverage.
Uh-huh.
And I will never understand that. But predictably, the fight was a joke. The first 30 seconds of round one were kind of like, ooh, okay, this is gonna be a real fight. And it wasn't. Did
we go 30? It was quick.
Well, the rounds are only 2 minutes.
Yeah,
you're right. I was like, did we get a whole 30 seconds of good?
I mean, maybe, maybe the first 30,
The first 20?
Maybe.
you know, because
Yeah.
it kind of looked like, okay, this looks like a real fight. The guys feeling each other out, some jabs, some move. Like Tyson was moving his head the way he does. I was like, okay. But after that, it just became this slow, boring, whatever. And then meanwhile, the room I was in had about 200 people in it.
Yeah.
And everybody's complaining, oh, it was boring. I'm like, well, what did you expect? What did you think was going to happen? That this guy who has never been a real boxer is suddenly going to turn into, Sugar Shane Mosley and this nearly 60-year-old guy is going to drop 20 years off his age?
Yeah.
I mean, look, and all I can say, guys, is the one good thing that I hope comes out of this. Can this please be the end of this idiotic circus? Like, who's Jake Paul going to fight next? Pauly Shore? The guy who played Urkel?
He's going to fight Joe Biden.
They're going to fight Joe Biden?
Yeah.
I mean, like, what? Can we please stop with this? There are real boxers having real matches who have actual skills. Guys, you turn on any legitimate boxing thing, and the guys fighting at the bottom of the card would beat the living shit out of Jake Paul in 30 seconds or less if they were flyweights. So can we please stop this? Like
60 million people watched it?
From the stat I saw was 60 million households tuned in live to watch this.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
It's not gonna. Then no.
Yeah.
No, John.
Not gonna happen.
The answer to that question is no. Yeah. That. But you know what? Like, boxing, unlike any other sport, will sell you just pure dog shit. And every time I'm like, maybe this is the time. Maybe this is one.
I think part of it is, I mean, I'm sure there's people like Jake Paul. I mean, he has a bunch of followers, but there's a bunch of people that don't like him, so they're hoping someone can beat him. But all these fights, he's just fighting guys that he knows he could beat. Either they're old, well, in this case, really old boxers, or almost retired MMA fighters.
Yeah.
And then you have the aspect of how much of it is actually real, because like it seems like he didn't want to hit Tyson really at all. He wanted to go the distance with him. Tyson, I know me and Ray were talking about it. Tyson kept biting his glove, and they're saying like that's a tick of his, but Ray was like, well, maybe he has to do that so he doesn't punch back. Like he's just letting this
why
happen.
Why would you have to bite your glove to not punch back?
That's how I constantly do. I'm chewing on my clothes.
This is all on the
every day.
premise.
I'll
All
punch
on the
everybody
premise
in the head.
of if, let's say, there was a work in this fight, which I don't want to say at all because I don't want to be wrong about that, because if they
you're
were
afraid.
really going,
Say
really
you're
going
afraid.
at it, then they were. But for me, it just didn't look like both of them were really letting go on each other.
Well,
You know
I
what
think
mean?
well, that like John's room was everybody was like, I was just like, can this got to be over fast, and not because I was bored, but just because like I don't want to see an old man get housed on TV, and like
Well, we already had to see his ass earlier.
Well,
that was enough.
we're not to the positives yet, Ryan.
Oh,
so
sorry.
no, like that, and I think I don't know. You would know, Ray, but like to me, I'm like, oh, even Jake Paul doesn't want to knock him out. Like he didn't even want to do it. It was like we're like right in the middle of it. We're like, this is a horrible decision. We're in a room of 100,000 people, and nobody wants. Like, if we could have just cut the lights out and then like everybody go home, that would have been better.
I actually stopped watching after the fourth round. After the fourth round, I was kind of like,
it just got worse.
That's
he
what I'm
didn't
saying.
throw any punches.
there's
He
like
just
no
like
chance.
walked around.
I will say, if there was a highlight of the night, it was the actual real boxing matches on
the
the
two
undercard.
girls that fought.
The two girls
right
and Abel
before it,
Ramos.
that fight was great.
Those were two great fights. Everything else around it was just a pile of just a spectacle.
It's like celebrity
we'll
boxing.
call it a spectacle. It was more of an event than a fight. Really.
But even like celebrity boxing takes place like in a studio in Orlando, Florida, or something. They sold out the AT&T.
Yeah,
I mean,
That's so many
they sold a box near the ring for $2 million for two
that's
guys
wild.
to sit in.
That's
Let me-
wild.
And
but
recliners,
Here's
so.
a question I have. So, like, my buddy sent me the numbers afterwards of Netflix. By the way, a lot of people were experiencing streaming issues
Oh yes.
on Netflix, which has got a lot of people worried about when Netflix tries doing NFL games. Monday Night Raw starts on January 5th or something like that. But they get 60 million households. Is that a good or a bad thing? And the reason I ask that is because you got 60 million people tuning in and the product you delivered was crap. So is it a good thing that they got that many viewers? Because
Yeah, like a bad taste right off the bat.
are people
Yeah.
going to actually bother to tune in to watch Jake Paul's next celebrity beatdown?
Well, yeah, I don't know.
you know, it's just become. Hey, it's like these events are just made to get people's attention. There's not really any competition in the actual fight
not.
itself or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just. I think it's the time we live in right now. It's like, hey,
Social media
hey,
stuff.
hey, me. Oh, we're gonna do all this, and
I'm
then the
gonna knock out
product,
Mike Tyson.
the end result is just a disappointment. It's just a
Yeah.
disappointment, and everyone knows that, but they still show up.
But that's
They
because-
still show up. Their
I don't
eyes are
question-
still-
I don't question why they had the fight.
Yeah.
See how much money they
Because
made?
they make money.
Yeah,
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 a
Yeah.
ton of money.
My question is, why is anybody paying attention?
Why it was on Netflix, John.
That's much more of a.
And I was
that's-
sitting at home doing nothing.
Right,
else.
right. A lot of it is. A lot of us are Netflix subscribers, so it's on. It's
yeah.
an event. It's live. Curiosity kills. You know.
Yeah.
So
That's
we all
Tyson.
put our eyes. But
And
it's
Tyson.
Just,
Yeah.
but it's a bigger problem in just the whole world
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now than just the sporting event. Well,
Anyway, guys, question is for you. Why were you interested in this fight? Like,
I'm
why?
talking to you.
I'm you specifically. You're the problem. Why were you interested in this fight at all? Because clearly a lot of people were. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments below and let us know your thoughts.